Hello and welcome to episode 61 of Let's Talk Tactics. I'm your host, Zach Burrell.
Hey, I'm Danabun.
And this week, we have actually a pretty tame week. We have one unit release to talk about. That's going to be, all right, we're saying Cetia. There was a part of my brain that thought it could maybe be Sesha or something with the TIA, but we're going to go with Cetia. If it's wrong or if it was said somewhere in the story, my bad. I've been skipping a lot of those cutscenes recently.
Or get over it.
So my bad. But if you're gonna correct us, make sure you have a source. But then we're going over the EXs for Skull, Marielle, Lorela, etc. So, and actually at the end we have not a class match week, but I believe it's pickup match week,
Quick
which
pick
will quick
for
pick.
global.
Sure,
Pickup is for maybe
whatever they want to call it. We'll touch on that and kind of share our thoughts about the concept of the mode and then our experiences thus far, which I will, spoiler warning, I have not played any matches yet. But I have a few gillies who have talked about it, and then I think, Danny, you've played at least one match, so you can at least kind of give an idea of what it feels like. But let's just start off with these EXs. Let's go right into Skull. Also, by the way, I think there's kind of a theme this week of the, is it the Guga? Gauga. I keep saying Guga. I don't know why.
So I'm
The
pretty
Gauga clan.
sure. I'm pretty sure they pronunciated it like in the story.
Pronunciated.
And well, whatever, pronounce it. Or said it out loud.
Yeah, I
But
understand. It was fucking me.
I can't remember if it is actually Guga or if it's
Yeah.
Gauga. I prefer Gauga.
Gauga is what I actually meant to say, but then Guga came out and then I had to make fun of myself. So it's gonna be Gauga.
Yeah, it's like you're not gonna say Sega, you're gonna say Saiga,
All
right?
right, Saiga, the opposing ninja clan, which
So
apparently is led by a ninja mage or something. So,
Mario.
um, yeah. So Skull is kind of one of those units that I don't think ever made a huge splash in the game. There were some people who were excited for him because he was a two-tick quickener, kind of alongside Shell. One of the only fast quickeners like that. So without working really hard with some kind of cast time down and your VCs or whatever else. So that was kind of his niche, but I really don't think he ever was kind of mass adopted by the game as a whole or even live PvPers. Though I have seen some people do some nasty things. Was it Skull alongside like Cloud and like Nivlu or something, where people were doing like double quicken lightning teams? Or I feel like there was a guy in CM who did really well with Skull. Do you remember who that was or what the comp was?
Um, I know back in the day, I think it was actually Leo's Hantai, but it might be somebody else. I
That
think he
sounds
was using
familiar.
him, but I don't know how well he did. Um, but I would expect like a lightning team, like a double quicken team like that to work, especially with Cloud. I thought you were gonna say like recently, and I was like, dude, I haven't seen any lightning comps with Skull recently. So who knows? Maybe the 120 upgrade is gonna help him out.
Yeah, I'm looking at. I just did a quick scan through the PvP Discord, typed in Skull, and I'm just scrolling down the messages to see if somebody mentions it.
Yeah.
I can't find it. Although you saying Leasante, I want to say you might be right about that.
Yeah, I think I ran
Um,
into him. But this was like this was back in like the first like few CMs though. Like I swear.
oh no, I'm thinking more recent than that.
Okay, I swear oh yeah, because of Cloud and stuff. But I swear I remember him using like him like Skull and like Frederica and like a quicken or a double quicken comp. Like in the remember how CM2 and 3 were the repeat of like the castle with like everybody was running Agrius.
Hmm.
I remember him using. I swear I remember running into him then, but I don't remember like a Cloud team
I'm actually seeing there's a comment from 2/18/2021, so February 18th, which
last year.
yeah, it's like a year ago, so that's not
Yeah.
super late into the game. But someone's saying Halloween Little Leela, Sakura, and Skull was the team.
What? I
Apparently
swear.
Vinny put a message out about it, and then Sunshine, the dog, chimed in saying he also played against the same team.
I remember that actually.
So I guess maybe that's what it was that I'm thinking of, but that's obviously a lot longer ago than I was thinking I've heard about it. But
Yeah, that's only like CM5 though.
but yeah, this whole long intro here trying to talk about Skull is because I don't really have a whole lot else to talk about him. I don't think, because I saw some spoilers in chat in PvP Discord that he is not getting a very solid upgrade. So looking at stats, I mean, we've gone over him before. His resistances to damage types are not that great. He's negative to basically everything except magic, with the most negative at least being strike. So I guess that's a plus side. If you're gonna have something negative, have it be strike because it's the least common. Um, weird, some average resists with like paralyze and
Yeah,
confuse, a little bit to silence, which could be relevant now with more, but at the same time, it's also only 10%, which is not that
he
relevant to an
probably
LB.
probably just skip to his upgrades, to be honest. Like, I'm pretty sure we're familiar enough with him.
Yeah, these stats. I'm just saying if he had any major buffs, like his magic
Oh
is
yeah,
pretty
yeah,
high. Like after everything, it's
yeah.
561, which is it's on the higher end. He does have some natural defense, which is nice. He gets a little bit of agility from his EX. Um, so it's not like awful, but he is very like glass cannony. So at least he has a decent magic, decent agility with his low HP.
So that's his base is actually like 396, which is like near to like Howlett's, I think. It's just he gets some from his mastery and his board and stuff.
Right, right.
So like in terms of like magic up or like magic buffs or whatever, it's not like that progressive, you know?
Speaking of magic ups, his first EX upgrade is actually his magic up level 1 from his Black Mage main job, which, spoiler, is going to be mainly the thing holding him back here. Uh, increases magic by 30% still, but also gives him the, as we like to call it, the update to the times of a magic resistance penetration buff of 40. So it updates him to kind of what units standards are now, but again, that's all it is. So it's definitely appreciated. Granted, I could see arguments for where he might be using like his speed. You're generally gonna have speed cast, I would think, since everything of his is cast time, and then like I guess you're using Black Magic Mastery because defense level up implies that you can kind of get in there as a like tanky
Staff.
caster, and like he
Yeah.
is a staff mage, but I don't know. He's still such a small health pool. Like even if 50% of damage these days is gonna do a lot to him.
It's the black mage so main job. That's
Yeah, it's really
so
unfortunate.
unfortunate, yeah.
And here's another thing: his other upgrade is in his counter. So not only he has a passive counter, which can be good, but he also has a reaction count upgrade. Sorry, passive counter. He has a passive upgrade and a counter upgrade, which means he gets no upgrades to his main jobs except for his drop 25 skill, which is
Yeah.
a really awkward place. His counter is preemptive, which is cool. So it's magic counter getting upgraded to debilitating counter. Uh, up to 50% though, which is pretty
Yeah.
sizable, and the
It's gonna
range goes up to 4.
it's gonna be going off all the time, dude.
So it's actually not that like for a counter upgrade, this is probably one of the better ones.
Yeah, it
Uh,
is. Hell yeah, it is. It's a slow counter reaction basically. And you know how often those go off.
very
Sorry,
often.
sorry to interrupt.
No, you're good. Decrease attack and magic by 39% to the target. So, you have a 50% chance if they're within 4 spaces to do just normal, magic counter things. But the nice thing is if he's going to go out on this hit, at least he gets something in before he does die, and will have an impact for the rest of your match. How I say your match, we're live PvP podcast here. um, main job though, he still has. There's no upgrades. He just gets a new skill. The new skill is Thundaga Disposer. So he now has 2 Thundagas. This one, Lightning Imperils for the 38% that we see a lot, and 185 damage mod. And it's a pretty giant AoE from a range of 4. So it's a pretty versatile range on it. Range height of 2 with an AoE of 1.
Yeah.
Cast time's 280 though. I mean, he does have the pass. So his pass is what,
Yeah.
200, I think. So 200 there. Then he's got the speed
250.
cast 250.
Oh,
So it's
yeah, yeah.
450. So 550 does get him down to a 2-tick cast on this. So it's not awful. Like I mentioned earlier, the reason he was at least used for a bit with people's comps was because he had a quicken that was a little faster than everybody else except for like Shell at the time. I think there's 2 more units now that can do it that fast, but he will get this out quicker than the cast time 280 looks. But like, why not give it to him as like a 360? Well, 360 used to be 2 ticks, but I don't know. This feels a little lackluster. Like it's almost like having another one of his LBs, sort of, but like without the status on it. I don't know. It's just more of what he was already doing on offense, which is mediocre. I mean, it helps support, I guess, because you can decrease lightning resist for lightning mono teams. But I'm reaching for straws here. Do you have any kind of like? Do you have anything more positive to say about him, or
Yeah,
anything?
actually, I like his job 25 skill is one of the better job 25 skills that I've seen, honestly, and all of these like X upgrades. Like it's the range height and
Range
stuff.
is really nice.
Yeah, yeah, that. the damage, the imperil, it's like the 3 casts, like the cast time, it's not 200 like a flare would be. Like, I really like his job 25 skill. It's not enough to like salvage like his X upgrades as a whole, but like it's better than his LB, dude. Like, can you believe
I
that?
suppose that is true. Going negative 30 on the resist with the 185 mod is
Yeah.
definitely it's most of the time going to be more than just having a 200 flat like damage mod.
Yeah, and it's half the cost of his LB. The only difference is it's not a 3 hit.
Mm.
Like it's you wouldn't use it to build a chain like you would for like I don't know Frederica or Cloud or whatever.
And there's no
But
paralyzed, of
but
course.
yeah, but the imperil is really what makes the difference there. Like even though it's only a single hit, you're still reducing lightning res by 38% because obviously it's going to get maxed. So only 185 mod, but obviously like the like I said, the Imperial is going to make up for this. So I really like that skill. But the like I said, like the fact that he's a black mage main is what really I think is holding him back from being more relevant. Um, uh, I again like his counter upgrade, like 50% chance at counter is just crazy. I don't
Hmm.
care what it is. Um, but the fact that they upgraded his magic counter because of it being his black mage, like his main job, instead of like the staff mage, like anti barrier, like he needs
It
to
has
be
to be his
able
main
to
job,
take,
right?
like, yes, it's preemptive, but like, it's not going to help him survive to get it off more than once, and even that's a coin flip. So like I would really would have liked to see like an anti-barrier upgrade or like a defense up passive upgrade, you know, like something to make him more competitive because really in today's climate, like he's just gonna get one shot probably. He doesn't have any spirit pen. It's just like the magic res pen.
Right.
And you have to run like the just the base like magic up passive to get that upgrade. Um, and like, yeah, you probably want to run speed casts, but you don't always have to for a unit like Shell or Skull, you know, because of their master like ability. So like I can see cases where like you want to use speed cast, and so you'd have the chance to use like Black Magic Mastery and like defense up, or just go like all magic up, you know. Although I'm not really a big fan of just increasing straight damage, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
Um, so like, man, it's just like his reaction is awesome. His job 25 skill is awesome. They're just not enough to help make him relevant. Um, I was thinking the only other thought that I had was that with his passive upgrade to 40 magic res penetration, it doesn't make him like it doesn't make Black Rose Helena's like Cypress Pile staff like a mandatory use for him nowadays. Like you can still use like the whatever like Yuna's staff, not even Yuna, the one before the Sakura staff where it's like
Hmm.
light up and lightning attack up, you know,
Yeah,
as
because he
well as
was 20
magic attack.
lightning.
Yeah, so like I mean the difference between 40 magic res pen and 60 magic res pen isn't as much as like the 40 or the 20 that you would get from either one of those separately. So I don't know, I feel like you like you can get away with not running like the Cypress pile and instead going for the Ford Prius staff.
Prius. So one thing I will say, and I just noticed this, like we've talked about how outdated the black mage job
Yeah.
feels just because of how many instant cast crazy things we've gotten with AoEs and buffs. Look at how little text there is on every ability.
Yeah.
There's one line on Thunder, Thundaga, Toad, and Flare.
Yeah.
They all do exactly one thing. It's either
Some
just damage, a little more damage, a lot more damage. That's it for three of them. Then Toad is like, you have a chance to put the status on. And then Bio is like, a little bit of damage with, okay, it has a second effect. Other effects these days, go look at the fucking like
fucking
go look at
paragraphs.
more. Like there's six lines on some of her skills of just like these. Sure, some are conditions, so it's like it's a little wordy, but there's so much more going on with newer units that like you look at this job and it just looks honestly so pathetic. Like
Well, it's
the
because
job 25 skill is really cool, but my god, the rest of it.
it's like basically straight from the tactics, like original, like vanilla tactics game,
It's a
which just
nostalgia class at this point,
yeah,
right?
it just feels bad because it should be like if you're from the tactics game, you should be balling, dude. But I mean, they tried with the reaction and the job 25 skill, but um, damn, I wish they would have tried harder. Uh, yeah,
So few
obviously,
words.
Obviously, you're going to use Staff Mage as a sub job for him if you're using him. If you're not using him on a Quicken team, which you're probably going to be using him on as a as a Quickener, so it's either Staff Mage or Time Mage. I don't see any point to using his Black Mage sub job, even though he has Drain and Sleep.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah, meh.
yeah, it's just a bummer.
Definitely. Think that's enough on Skull though, unless you have any other notes.
Nope.
So let's move into a unit that I like a lot more than Skull on the surface. And I think
More.
more. Oh my god, the puns are back. It's-
Sorry, I'm gonna let it go.
no, you're good, you're good. And I think you've used this unit a decent amount, right, Marielle?
Yeah, both of them.
So would you like to kind of talk about their upgrades?
Yeah, absolutely. So, as you guys are probably familiar, Marielle is the MR units that came out kind of after like the first couple arithmetician jobs. She was like the first MR arithmetician, I think, and then it was like Lorela or something. Not Lorela,
Livial.
Livia, yeah. But I remember like Fox Force in particular. There's a player named Fox Force who really like loved to use Mariel and a light team back in the day, and like was really effective at it, like in arena and like other like not live PvP as far as I remember, but maybe even that. I think he actually used it in like maybe like an auto tournament or something. But she's a really effective MR Spellblade. She's kind of my first pick for that, to be honest. So I'm really I've been looking forward to her X upgrades for a while. Excuse me. Nothing really much to update as far as like stats or like status res, unless you had something to remark about that.
I would
Uh,
say just as a note, after everything, she's an MR unit and she has 59 agility, including her board and base stats, which is pretty sizable for an MR unit.
Pretty
Like
competitive, yeah.
it's not awful. She's 4.3k HP. She is gonna be like Spellblade. You look at and you think of, oh, it does magic slash damage, but it's actually a tank like main job. Like if you're a main job Spellblade, you're gonna have some
Yeah,
tankier stats, and she's no exception here. Only flat for spirit, but we'll get into her skills and you'll see the other kind of stuff she can do.
yeah. So like her first X upgrade is to her Spellblade, obviously her main job passive, um, which is the Providence of Darkness, magic res, dark res as a light
Mm.
unit. That's pretty expected. So it's upgraded to Dark Spirit Sanctuary, and you know that I'm a fan of like
Pretty
these
dope.
cool ass like names like for the upgrades.
I feel
But
like you like the anime names like the Dark Spirit
uh, yep.
Sanctuary. Like it's like their move they do, and that like the characters come across the screen. It's a
I,
big epic animation.
I don't know about that much hype, but it's just I love like story and lore shit like that. So, unfortunately, it doesn't really super live up to the hype of the Dark Spirit Sanctuary. I mean, like it does in the sense that like dark resistance is basically doubled from
Hmm.
12% to 24%,
That's a
and
lot,
like
dude.
it is if you're like fighting dark teams. So like it kind of funnels her more into that role, which is kind of unfortunate, because like as an arithmetician unit, I mean, they're so versatile. You can fit them into like kind of any team, really, especially if you have to do like limited guild battles or limited cost anything, really. So it's so she's kind of as a Spellblade main job, we can't really expect more than for her to be focused on like mitigating more damage against like magic opponents. So she's really good against like basically dark mages like Golbez and Black Rose Helena. But like, who knows if she'll actually survive against their magic res penetration and spirit penetration stuff. The
I
fact,
mean, it's good against like Dwayne too. Like
yeah, yeah, yeah.
if he
With the
doesn't
dark
use his
res,
dark
yeah,
apparel, like the dark that's 20. It's almost a quarter of the damage coming in
yeah, yeah,
mitigated
yeah.
before advantage. Of course, advantage always sucks, but
Yeah.
um,
I
I
was referring
imagine
more
you.
to like the Spellblade.
Sure,
Um,
sure.
so like the last like the upgrade besides like the dark res, which is sizable, it's doubled. Spirit debuff resistance. So she basically, as long as she has this passive on, her spirit can't be reduced. Which is nice. It can still get
Not.
penetrated, obviously, but there's no breaks there.
You can't break her spirit. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the sanctuary part right there. Is it her spirit can't be broken. Her dark spirit.
So I anticipate like probably like you're probably always going to be using Dark Spirit Sanctuary and Thief Lore on her. Um,
Yep.
so it's a great upgrade. The
You
other
used to
one,
I was gonna say, it used to be conflicted with like level 4 or level 3, but as we've mentioned, like
yeah,
level 120 lets you not have that as like mandatory for PvP purposes. And then yeah, the heights, I'd rather have
So
Thief 4.
before we get into her job 25 skill, the other like X upgrade that she gets is actually really significant. It's to her Spellblade Magic Barrier. Um, so so obviously we're familiar with Magic Barrier. It's reducing damage taken by magic by 50% for 3 turns. For 3 times, not the 3 turns. Sorry. But the upgrade, it doesn't reduce the TP cost, which is nice. And like some upgrades reduce AP costs. It doesn't increase the casts. It's still 2 casts, but not only is it the magic barrier for half damage, it's increasing spirit by 25 for 3 turns, and it's also acting as like a divine grace. Oh, not a divine grace, a divine the knight
You're right. I
version,
think you're
where
right.
no, divine grace is the AoE paladin version. The knight version is like divine healing or some shit, where
Oh, okay.
it's only for her. It increases max HP and restores that much by 15% for 3 turns. So it's kind of an interesting skill because the magic barrier is still only for 3 times, but it's also a 3 turns aspect to it now with the spirit buff and the
Hmm.
increased HP. Yeah, really really interesting. I like if say like Elena or somebody else, like if they use like a triple hit skill or whatever, like and take the magic barrier off, she still has the like the spirit there for 3 turns, in the same way that sometimes Ayaka's TMR can be more useful than like Mashuri's TMR, for instance.
Sure. And if they
um
debuff her, she still has the barrier. So
yeah, yeah.
like dispel shot or something might take
Well,
off the spirit, but
she can't get oh yeah, all right. Sorry, she couldn't get debuffed. She can't get her spirit broken. That's right.
yeah.
So, anyways, job 25 skill, Mind Crusher.
What
I
a
don't know.
weird name for a spellblade.
Yeah, yeah. It makes me think of like Street Fighter back in the day with like the Baron guy. And what can I think of his name? Where he's like Psycho Crusher.
Oh, that's M Bison.
Oh, and Bison. Yeah.
I only know that
Anyways,
because of a card game.
yeah.
I've never played Street
So
Fighter.
Mind Crusher is it's an interesting skill, honestly. It's a cross AoE range of 3, range height 1, AoE height 1. It's basically like a medium damage like Spirit Break. Um, she can use it 3 times. It's only like a single hit. It's 26 AP, but
Hey, we.
yeah, yeah. So like the cross AoE um, Spirit Break, it's another nice tool to have for a magic tank with mostly magic attacks that is going to be trying to survive against mages in particular and like try to kill them. So yeah, it's interesting. It gives her more of an ability to finish out the match, honestly.
I mean, I'm looking at this
Um,
like I almost like her against the like sort of light meta, like against
yeah,
Elena and Jade and that team, because like she attacks the resistances on so many fronts. She has the barrier, she's got the spirit, she has the magic resist. Obviously they're doing like missile and slash damage, but um, and she's such a high HP pool that she's getting healed by people. I mean, it's great. You can go on sub Spellblade for like auto content, but
yeah,
you could stick to your arithmetician if you're on like normal. Like
yeah.
actually, not that awful. Yeah, she's one of the better MR upgrades, I think, or one of the more attractive MR units, I think.
I was just gonna finish my thoughts on her by saying that like fundamentally like the biggest problem that she still hasn't changed, and that's the fact that in order to use her as a magic tank you have to put her on her spellblade sub job and miss out on the like level 3 level 4 attacks and even heals from her arithmetician sub job. And you're probably never going to really use her on thief, but she can be used for steel time, steel vision, etc.
And mugging.
So
Back in the day, she was
yeah,
like,
so
people were like, "Oh, I'm extra, and I'll have another
yeah,
mug."
that was me. So like that's her biggest drawback is the fact that she doesn't have taunting spell on her main job skills without being on her sub job, and the fact that I mean resist magic and taunting spell are so key to the spellblade job that the fact that she needs to be on her sub job to use those is one of her biggest drawbacks in my opinion.
Fun fact: she is right between Jaden and Rain for overall magic after everything's said and done, before passes and stuff. Which is
That is good.
a pretty decent place to be. And she does have a good weapon. I mean, Lohengrin gives you a lot of magic and a lot of slash. She also could use Elena's blade, which gives agility and light and slash and all those things. So
Yeah.
um I she's actually pretty reasonable. Now, the only disadvantage to that is you can't use that sword on both Elena and her on the same team or something, which is really unfortunate. But um,
I've been using a magic sword of light for the longest time now,
you could do
ever
that
since
as
I had the
well.
chance to build it.
That's fair.
I just don't understand. Like resist magic and taunting spell are job level 3 and 5 spellblade abilities, and they skipped those and went straight to like the higher level ones for her on her main skill. So yeah,
Well,
it's
those
just
are
kind of
always the ones on
baffling.
sub job, which is annoying because like they feel like such key abilities for spellblades, but
Are
they're
they always on
always
sub?
yeah. So
Oh,
remember, it's always resist magic, taunting spell, and magic barrier are always are the three. I believe those are the three that you get for being. Oh no. Okay, no, I'm actually fucked up. Never mind. Ignore me.
it's all
I'm an
right.
idiot.
Or
I'm,
me.
I'm I'm like, wait a second. I'm like, those are no, that's not how the trend works. Never mind. I forgot. That's not one of the optional ones. The optional ones would be magic barrier, and then I think Banishka chicken would be the options if you had it as a
Yeah,
sub job.
I was thinking like it
Um,
would be nice to really
no,
switch
you're right.
at
You're right.
least one of those, but
Of course. I
yeah,
mean, switch out like I don't
yeah,
know, like Bio Blade to resist magic. Like resist magic feels like such a core thing to the class. Like
yeah.
I don't know.
So
Like
she's
taunting
more like
spell would
a
be nice,
hybrid.
but
Like she can't really act as a magic tank without losing like the versatility of like her arithmetician gem. So
the repetition heals are nice, and it
yeah,
does suck to
yeah.
miss that for sure. But overall, I think I actually would consider putting resources into her. Maybe not right now for me personally, but like she's not one I'm just like looking past and not impressed with it. I like these upgrades. Are you gonna EX her? One of your old
Probably
favorites.
eventually. Like people have been asking me like, oh, so, like who should I upgrade next, or like between these two, like who should I upgrade? And like almost like inevitably or invariably, like my response is use which one or like upgrade which one you're going to use more, even if it comes down to the difference between like Cloud and like Ildira. Like if you're going to use Ildira more, fucking like that's the clear pick, right? Obviously most people like Cloud is like the clear choice for most people, um because they don't have like a hang up on lightning teams like I do. But I mean, like if you're going
If
to
you
focus
hate an
on,
element, ignore them all.
yeah,
No.
if you're gonna focus on like water teams, like especially all this hype we're hearing about water teams being the new meta in the upcoming months or whatever, then Ildir is like the clear choice for you, right? But in terms of upgrading Mario, probably eventually if I have the luxury to spare like all the mats and stuff, but
hmm
um, like it's probably not going to happen until I end up with like 1,000 like light prisms and fragments and stuff like that, where I feel comfortable, especially with like the blossoms. Like I have like 30 something right now because I'm saving them for like the units that I know I'm going to invest in later.
By the way, be proud of me. I'm
So
gonna start doing all my selection quests finally.
yeah,
Uh,
it's
I I
such
saw
a
the
waste.
I saw the mission rewards. The first mission gives you 500 Visior, so like I don't care what account you have, you can clear that
Yeah,
first mission with like
yeah,
whatever like one MR you have for that element. Like get your
right.
500 Viz per.
Yeah,
But yeah, the rest I do want to get it's silly to not have that stuff. So I've been rearranging all of my like pre-made teams so that I have something for selection quests. I have like a normal like uncapped one, and then like 4 extra for testing or faith and bravery farming, whatever else.
right.
Trying to get a little more organized with my comp so I can just pop to it, auto the content each month, and do my thing. So you'll be proud of me soon. Let's hop into Lorela real quick before we get into Esper
Yeah,
and the new unit.
I don't mind
So
talking about her
yeah,
if
go for it. I haul you.
so Lorela is kind of more up my alley as like a wind unit, like fire, winds, and like I mean everybody has like light teams or whatever, but like fire and winds are kind of like my jam. I've definitely like I've had her like maxed out for a while now, and I like the look of her upgrades. Um, but speaking of like the just like let's just start at like the base stats aspect of it because I know you mentioned Mario's like magic stat. So Lorela is one of those MR units that can get above 60 agility as well. She has 52 base, but like her board gives her 9, so she ends up at 61. So I think that's really notable for like basically an MR version of fucking like Frederica or something. But I mean, she's like main job ranger, so it's a little different. But I mean, you know what I'm getting at.
Yeah, yeah.
So I thought that was important to note. But I'm just gonna go focus on her X upgrades. Stop me if you want to talk about something else.
You just have to say
So
the first upgrade 3 times fast is all I'm gonna say.
So, her upgrades in terms of skills, she gets a passive upgrade to her Ranger lore, which is, we're used to, range +1, accuracy +25 at max. Her upgrade is, it turns into Fierce Fletch Mastery, which
2 more times.
is a mouthful. Almost nice. A mouthful. So,
Fierce Fletch.
yeah,
Yeah. Oof.
is that what her class is? I can't even
The
remember.
upgrade goes
Fierce Fletch.
to
I feel like it has to be, or it's got to be the relevant. Uh,
I don't know. A lot of her stuff says fierce though. She gets fierce barrage and yeah.
regardless. But the interesting thing, like it only gives her like the upgrade just gives her 20 crit damage. And like I mean I'm happy with it, but like dude, what the fuck? And give her a little bit more.
You could have slapped
So
crit chance on there too. Like you
I
could give
mean,
her 20 crit chance, 20 crit
or
damage, and
like or
cool.
AP consumption down, or like AP up, or like something. We've seen recently with at least UR units where like these skills get like 2 or more upgrades, but they couldn't give her like a little bit more. I don't know. I know like crit damage is a thing for her, so that's more in line with her as a fierce Fletcher or whatever. Um, so obviously she still has reflex. That's awesome. She still has the chance to do slash attacks with her Viking sub job, but again, just focusing on X upgrades. Like you said, her her next upgrade is to her barrage skill. It's called Fierce Barrage now. It's got the same like damage mod to it, but similar to skills like Cloud's buff. It's like Soldiers something, or am I can't remember. But anyways, when you get a crit, you restore AP. And this basically gets that dynamic as well. So, but for her, it's way more than 10. It's actually double that. So if she crits on this barrage, she restores 20 AP, which is half the cost basically of the barrage. So it's basically if you can get her to reliably crit, it's making her barrage cost 25 AP.
Which is huge.
So that's amazing.
And what I
Um,
want to know is if you hit more than one unit, do you get multiple
no,
procs?
no.
No, it's
It's
just
just the one.
you crit one or not. All
Yeah.
right, so you can
Well,
hit like 3 people with it, and you have more chance to crit. But
exactly. Yeah, that's what I was about to say. So like probably she's going to crit like on one of her targets. It'd be weird to be using like the barrage on one unit, but like hey, maybe you need to
hey,
get there.
sometimes you need that range.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's really useful. The she like barrage is only 3 uses though, so like um, it, I guess in the end, like it leaves her more gas in the tank for doing other stuff, like her job 25 skill, fatal succession. I feel like that is kind of like a lore thing because like she's like
Yeah, for sure.
the new chieftainess is what they call her. um Again, the whole crit damage increasing like aspect to her. Fatal succession is a 200 damage mod, increasing crit damage by 25 for this attack, and increasing range by 2 for the next turn when it's a critical hit. So
Dude.
there's a lot to like kind of unpack there, but really it's she's gonna do like insane amount of damage with this hit, unless it's like severely mitigated by like a um fucking like ice tank or something. But the fact that she can she can use this to set up like a fierce barrage or like a sharpshooter or something, like increasing the range by 2. Like it makes up for the fact that she doesn't get like an aimed fire buff, in my opinion.
Yeah, part of my brain is like, well, what if you have her on a team with a like giant tank? You can like run her up and like fatal succession your own unit, then quicken her, and then she can just barrage from like
Oh
downtown.
god, down 10.
No, this is a
um
really cool ability.
Yeah, it is. Um, uh, the increasing the range, I have to make sure to mention, like, she doesn't get like the sniper upgrades or really any of the range upgrades that's like the other range classes really get and that we kind of expect them to get. Like, she really only has ranger lore slash fierce fletch mastery for her like single range upgrade. The fact that she didn't like that's her only buff to range is like her job 25 skill. That's really one of her like detriments in the same way that I spoke about Mariella earlier. Like the biggest detriment is for her is like her range and the fact that she's an MR. But you know she can still do decently well against other MRs. You know, I don't know if you remember, like there were some stages, some maps or whatever, like for PVE content where like she was like the final unit alongside Skull. I can't remember what map it is, but like she actually did respectable damage before you could take her out.
I definitely cannot say I remember that,
It was for a
but I
farming stage or
appreciate
something.
that you do. uh,
It was in like tower or something.
do you have any other notes about her? Otherwise, I have a couple
No,
things.
let's move on.
I was gonna say real quick,
Okay.
the biggest weakness I think to her as well. If you scroll down her abilities, look for TP abilities. Um, there's none in her main job.
Yeah.
The one on her main sub sucks. Like vigilance is not great. When you're not an evade unit, you're gonna take just a shit ton more damage. And that's where her sharpshoot is. So I feel like you want to kind of have that if you're gonna be using her in like a PvP scenario. But it
Yeah.
really sucks to have it locked under next to vigilance. Now she needs some kind of AP item. Viking, if you're on that, like Viking and Knight, she's probably not using these abilities very often. She needs to keep her range and really utilize, well, her range. But like one has divine healing. I don't think you're ever touching Knight with her ever, unless it's some weird PvE thing. And then Viking, like you get Rebellious Spirit, which gives you a little bit of defense, but it's only 15 and some attack, but it's only 15 TP. So you're not getting a lot of AP from that, or Warcry even. You're not getting much. Like she has very poor, honestly awful
AP regeneration.
AP generation. So that is a glaring weakness to me for her,
Yeah.
especially if you want to be barraging. You want to use Fatal Succession, which is
Yep.
28's almost to like the high end of AP, but like barrages are 45. You really are
Yeah.
going to need bells or something similar on her to make her really useful. And like you said, there's no AP
That's why I said it.
decreased consumption or
I'm
get
so
like,
used to her AP problems. I didn't even think about like mentioning it.
yeah.
But yeah, you're totally right.
And also I fear the day where a ranger main job gets an EX upgrade to their reflex that has like a higher chance or something. I was
Oh
scrolling past it and
god.
I'm realizing like, oh man, this is on her main job. She could get this EX'd. Oh no.
Imagine like a 30, like a double chance
Yeah, just
to
30%,
reflex.
just like Aeon Bond. Like, no. Oh man. Oof.
Just trolling.
I shudder. They have like one attack, so they just hit you for one, but they reflex all the time. No, yeah, that'd be really rough. I Guyon though. How do you feel about this Esper?
I mean, I still kind of, I don't say I regularly use it, but it's always a pick. Like there's like a Gaian is still useful, even despite the fact that it's like a hybrid attack magic type of Esper. Did you want to get into it?
Yeah, so I mean, I can just give the overall summary. If it's not clear by now in these podcasts, I don't often look at Esper upgrades until the podcast. It's like I really have no idea what's happening with them until we get on here recording. I don't know shit. I know if it has ice attack on it, I know what it does. If it has anything else, I have no fucking clue until we look at these. So, uh, however, we adapt and overcome. So 1298 HP is pretty sizable. Especially like it has that mid range 15 agility now. It's always been one of those kind of mid range espers for me, where I have to have a really specific reason to put it on a unit, but I do like having it as a tool in my toolbox. Uh, so yeah, 1300 HP roughly. Split attack and magic, so you can choose which way you want to go with it. Which is always nice to have that option and not to like feel bad about using like the quote unquote wrong type of unit. 15 agility is decent. 25 poison resist. I find it funny we just got more, and now we have this like Esper. It's like, hey,
I knew you were gonna
use
say
me
that.
again. Like you could try to mitigate against this like 60% chance, or whatever. She's still pretty decent to poison, but the cool thing about this Esper is it's been fun for units like Howling Ryryu, who both want magic percent and also slash damage. So it has that sort of niche to it. But now it leans into, as a lot of these Esper upgrades do, the elemental side of things, so it gets the lightning attack 25. And then the other upgrade on the other side, it's always had this magic resistance of 15, but now it also has crit rate, which is interesting. It's released this alongside Lorela, even though I don't think she's ever wants to use this Esper. Um, but other units, like you were mentioning, Cloud, care about crits. So this could potentially just don't take the magic nodes, or maybe you have to because you want to get to the lightning attack, and then do slash attack and crit rate, and there you go. You have a build right there. Generally, I'm using this, at least right now. It's been on the magic percent, the slash, and the magic resist, and then accuracy if I can, or whatever else, like maybe Pierce 3, whatever the extra points go into. So it's got a couple different builds to it, and you could also, if you're not on a lightning unit, you could go down the Pierce resist, and I have Pierce resist and magic resist on the same Esper while also still having slash. Yeah, I mean, it's good. I mean, it has the lightning attack up now, as we expect, and it's still doing the same job it was before, just a little better. Do you have any notes on it other than that?
Yeah, so for the longest time, like Fenrir and Aigayan were like the only espers with like UR espers with magic resistance.
Hmm.
So in my mind, like that's still how it is. And so
Okay.
when I'm building magic res, like those two are always going to be um like the first espers that come to mind, more than like recent espers might. Um, so like I might not even build lightning attack for this esper when I have the chance to level it to 3 star, level 99 and stuff. It's probably always going to have magic res for me unless like there's a niche, like I don't know, like a raid where it's like a bird, like fucking like a frozen bird
Bird.
or whatever, a glacial bird.
It's a
And
bird.
even then, like you're probably still going to benefit with for with having magic resistance. Um, yeah, like you don't need lightning attack on this Esper for it to do its job, which is like you can put it on like a physical carry, you can put it on like a magic unit, like you can pretty much put it on anyone because of like and still benefit from the fact that like it's got like an even like attack and magic spread. Yeah, it's like it's only like a 40 stat difference maybe between the two. Like if it's like a physical Esper or magic Esper or like hybrid Esper or whatever, but it's more about like, can you take advantage of like the stat res that you get for 3 star? Poison res is nice. Like when you get poisoned, it sucks. Even though like
Sure does.
maybe it's going to happen more often nowadays with more. Who knows? But magic or poison res is still going to be useful. It's one of
More
those
often.
more often. It's one of those status ailments that's like, oh man, fuck, I'm poisoned. I have to deal with this.
Right.
If you don't deal with it,
Mobilize.
you're losing 45% of your HP over 3 turns or more, depending on like the percentage. Like sometimes it's Venere's LB with 25% for 3 turns, which is crazy. So like in my minds, like I will most likely have like a Gaian at 99 for like a lightning esper. Ramu is already there. Fucking Scorpion Sentinel. Um, Mostly because of how useful it is. Like slash attackers are always going to be common. You're always going to need magic resistance for something, and like you said, that like the crit rate is especially helpful for those units that like really need it, and even the ones that don't need it, like critting more is still. I hate
It's
to
a nice
say.
bonus.
I hate to say that it's a bonus because again, like I'm not really a fan of just straight damage bonuses, but I
Hmm.
mean it helps. So yeah, I like it.
Actually, so yeah, I was playing around with the builder here. With the points, you can actually fill out all the lightning attack, all the slash, all the magic resist, and take the accuracy note, and that's like exactly the points you can spend,
Yeah,
which is
nice.
nice. But if you remove the lightning attack and even the magic, yeah, you can start going into. You could get max water killer, which I think is
Yeah.
a good thing to note now because apparently Celeste, when she comes, is kind of a monster in the meta. So you could just get like, what is this, 25 water
Yeah.
killer here on top of your slash and your magic resistance, which I think she also is a magic slash unit.
I
Is that
think
correct?
so.
I think
Yeah.
she does magic damage. So like this could be
Yeah.
an anti-Celeste Esper if you want to have
Yeah.
that option ready to go for when that does drop.
I I
And
may
then
just I may just focus entirely on defense and go Pierce Res, which is even more relevant now. Pierce Res, Magic Res, and
yeah,
like maybe slash attack, but probably like accuracy into crit rate.
Well, I mean, you can do all of the pierce, all of the magic, take off the magic 5 node, and then go down the slash, and you can get up to all of the accuracy and then the first crit. So it's pretty versatile and
Yeah.
forgiving with its build path. So I think it's a really nice Esper to have access to. But getting into, it's actually a lot longer on these reviews than I was thinking it was going to be. But
I mean, we're always gonna have thoughts.
we have lots of thoughts. Yeah, some are good, some are meh, but you know we'll get there. So, Cetia, do you, as the fire guru, do you have would you like to go through Cetia, or do you want me to kind of do the quick run through and you come back through with the fine tooth comb?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, so Cetia, the unit I hate. No, just kidding. Her TMR. I'm sorry. I guess introing the unit in general. She is the fire warrior of crystal unit. So she's kind of the fire equivalent of Jum, and actually is Jum's the first and only one we have so far, right?
Until now, yeah.
Until now. So I think we still have lightning to go through before we get to my ice one, but
Lucio doesn't really count. He's like a apprentice like
right.
warrior.
He was the like, you know, the teaser for what's to come, but he's kind of he's actually been more impressive than I expected. But anyway,
yeah.
she has her own unique new missile main job. She does have move 3 jump 2, so the jump 2 is really nice, kind of taking that from the sniper classes in the game. Also has Viking sub, which we'll talk about that a little bit, but it's probably not going to be too important for her. Her TMR is Bright Flame Mantle. It's an accessory with 220 HP, 6 Spirit, 5 Agility, which is nice, and 6 Accuracy. 6 Accuracy, meh. Its ability increases missile attack for 3 turns by 25 and across AoE centered on herself. So it buffs allies and herself. And then it also restores her own AP by a flat 20 in addition to the AP she gets from the TP ability. So overall, she gets 32 from activating this, which is pretty cool. Well, not her, whoever uses it. Master ability, of course, she has the fire stuff, the HP and fire attack. But then she has 20 defense pen and 10% magic resistance for herself.
She's got the fire stuff.
Yeah, the fire stuff, the elemental stuff. Sorry. And that it's interesting she gets magic resist, because if you look at her actual resistances, she has a base 20, so this puts her up to 30% magic attack type resist, which is an interesting thing to have as a ranged unit, because other than other missile units, magic's the other thing with high range typically, unless you're, I guess a lot of slash units have stupid range these days too, so maybe that's not totally true. But other resists before we get into our stats are positive 5 slash, negative 5 pierce and strike, and neutral to missile. I kind of wish he had some missile resist to sort of like combat the other missile users, since they're going to be the ones kind of dueling at those long ranges. But
some Viking, like, it would make sense.
Also, yeah, the Viking gets their, I think, get the missile resist passive, so it's kind of built into like, oh, you're this ranger class with a little bit of Viking in you, which kind of tells me a little bit of missile resist, but not there. Maybe that's why it's not negative, is because she's Viking. But I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess continuing on resist real quick, her status ailment resists are frostbite. Kind of, I kind of like that as thematic. Maybe she's a fire unit who doesn't get frostbitten.
Big fuck you to curry, basically.
Yeah, gonna dual curry from a range and probably win. And then have the 50% sleep resist, which could be relevant in the future. I think there's some more and more sleep abilities being kind of sprinkled into kits these days. But then 10% berserk resist, I guess, if you're going against King Mont. But again, 10% against 67 on an LB, not the greatest.
It's the Viking reaction, like fighting spirit. It's like Seymour. She can get a little bit of resistance to getting through.
Right. Oh, that's true. Actually, yeah, she could use that.
You're not though. You're not gonna use
probably
that.
not. On her board, she gets 6 agility, but her overall agility is 62. So I think that's a base of 56 if my math doesn't fail me and I'm not missing anything. So it's a decent base. We'd prefer the base to be at like 59 with only a bonus like 3 or something, but still pretty good. She got 62 overall. Her overall attack after everything is, what you thinking?
I wish she was like over 60, to be honest, but
She's
we'll get
62.
into that later. Oh, base.
Oh, sure. Her after, I'm just saying after everything, because yeah, we can say she has a 20% node, and we can talk about bases, but it's a lot of honestly on the fly mathing to figure out what the bases are. So I'm just kind of going over all stats, but 3.3 k HP is decent for a ranged unit, I think. And granted, she has 100 costs, so like she's gonna have a little bit more than other units of her same sort of category. 486 attack is pretty sizable too for a missile unit. Where she, well, I guess we'll talk about her last like good part, which is 329 dex. I think she's 6th overall for dexterity. But if you just take a little glance to the side, look at her luck value. She is pretty low on luck. I looked earlier. She's number like 107.
Oh god.
Out of 151 units.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
She's tied with actually no, sorry, Sergeus has more luck than her. She's tied with Mariluke and
That ain't right. That just ain't right.
Noctis apparently also is 208. That's funny.
Oh Jesus.
Raudor, Rosa, Seymour's got one like she's down there with some inaccurate units. Gafgarian without an EX has more luck than her. Anyway, my point is her luck is very low. So while she does have this really high dexterity value for her missile scaling, like it's kind of like that 15% scaling for damage, and for accuracy, the luck is such a overweighted stat for so many things. And when you look at the accuracy calculation, I want to say dex and luck are very similar weight. So if one's really low and one's really high, like you're just kind of meh with your accuracy. Now I'm gonna say that, and then someone's gonna point out the calculation's a little off, but dex has not been the end all be all when we look at units before. Like on paper, it sounds really good because dex is like the accuracy stat, but if your luck is low, it offsets it a lot. So in practice anyway. So I'm a little worried about her accuracy, which is going to be a theme moving into her kit. But do you have any notes about her stats?
Really only overall, like in terms of like her accuracy and stuff, which I feel like we're still gonna talk about. But yeah, I mean her stats aren't bad aside from that.
Her passives, so she gets the Viking stuff, which is the HP and attack one, Viking lore. She gets the missile resist we talked about. And sniper, she gets her long range and sniper mastery, which also is 12% luck of this tiny luck stat, so who cares? But her main job passives are increased range 2, which is really important. It kind of replaces the concentrate that gunner units would have, but without the evasion downside. So cool. Definitely going to help her compete with other missile units. And then she also gets wildfire bow skills, which upgrades to wildfire bow skills 2. We'll just talk about the upgraded version because let's be honest, if you're pulling this kind of unit, you have 6 days to build them or 7 days or whatever. Like you're probably turboing, so you're at least in their EXs. Wildfire bow skills 2 gives her 12% agility. Sweet, she has an agility passive. 40% missile resist pen. That's our normal modern unit thing. And then also decrease AP consumption 25. So that's a really stacked passive. You're gonna be hard pressed, I think, to find an argument to not use both her Fireborn Archery and her Wildfire Bow skills too. If you can find a reason to use the other stuff, maybe long range you need for like some weird perfect range setup something, but I'm sorry, it's probably not happening. You probably just use one of her multiple range 1 buffs instead. Her unique main job counter is Flame Sway Conditioning, which is a preemptive reaction with a 15% chance to do so. And it looks like it's just reflex. So
yes.
I was like, what oh, this sounds really cool. I told you I don't read these things ahead of time.
No.
No, so it's 15%, and then yeah, it's just an evasion or reflex. So it's the same thing. Flame Sway Conditioning is very it's a mouthful. Just like call it reflex.
It's like the Energist.
Call it Flame Flex.
Or like the like 2Bs like reflex, or like they gotta name it differently so that it's cool.
Sure.
Flame Sway Conditioning.
Flame Sway Conditioning. She's like swaying in the wind. That's how she's dodging her shit.
Yeah, we're gonna
only
call
50%
it
of the time. Yeah, she has reflex. Main job. All right. First ability, which are kind of like bread and butter, 14 AP, 6 use, spammy ability. Small damage, decreases attack by 39 for target. This is Ashmaker. And her starter buff is Fire Blessing, which gives her slash and magic resistance both 20%. So now she's got magic 50%, which is pretty sizable. And +1 range. 22 TP is not that high. She's only getting 11 AP. But with her decreased AP consumption, maybe that's going to be okay for her. And I think one of her sub jobs gives decent buffs too. She gets target from her sniper, so you're gonna have a couple different ways to get AP. If you don't have an AP TMR. Her next ability is Thermal Exposure, which gets upgraded to Thermal Exposure Plus. So she's not getting all these badass names. She's just getting pluses and twos and whatever. But this one is gets upgraded and it has 4 uses. And it goes from 44 down to 37 AP. So yes, looks like basically a barrage. Except it has it reduces the counter chance on targets before the damage is dealt for 3 turns by 100%. Deals 165, which is the barrage modifier, and also decreases healing power by 40 for targets, and that's on hit. Solid. I mean, any upside to a barrage is fine with me. Like, barrage is just so good.
You could say annoying, and it's still
because yeah, it's one of those with like range height 5 that's gonna get like if you're up higher, you're gonna get more range in addition to her passive 2 and her buffs getting 1.
So we just sorry. So I know we just talked about Lorela's barrage. It's upgraded to Fierce Barrage and stuff like that. Barrage only gets 3 uses. Her upgraded version, she has 4 uses of it now. Barrage's cost is 45 AP. This is 37. And then like her, you quarter it because of her passive. So just so the last thing I wanted to mention, I'm sorry for interrupting. I know it's not that big of a deal, but Barrage's range height is only 4 and this is 5. So it's like
is it?
Yeah, so it's like a little bit more of an edge, which is interesting, especially since she doesn't struggle with being pushed out of like her range counterparts. Like she has just as much range as they do.
How did I not know that? I just looked at Lorela. Yeah, that's I guess I always just assumed it was the same because a lot of the ones are 5. That's interesting that they would give it that weird.
And it's not that relevant. Like
it's really not. Like 4 to 5. Like there's maybe some maps that's relevant, but very rarely is that going to come in.
Like that temple map where you're like down low and then
like,
up high.
How are you doing up there? Next ability is Flame Binding Bow Shot. Lots of just like fire word, adjective, or sorry, verb, and then like fancy name for arrow. Like
I'm thinking
it. This dispels re-raise before doing damage, so that's pretty huge. This is probably one of the main abilities that does attract people to her, I think. It only has a range of 4 base and a single target, but that's good enough for me. It also, I'll just finish the range stuff. So range height 5, 3 uses, 23 AP. It's on the like medium AP cost. 175 damage is an interesting number because we often see like 165 and the next jump up is like 185 or 200. So 175 is just an interesting middle range. And then 25% chance to inflict stun for 1 turn. So that's another one where I don't necessarily see her being a high faith unit unless you think she's never going to get hit by magic, in which case maybe you do that. She does have arm shot in her sniper sub job for disable, so I can see arguments for high faith.
I was planning on 97 faith.
97, you just want to hit the stuns, yeah. And stun is one of those no one builds for typically. Like it's just unless the unit randomly has stun resist, like you at least have a chance to take them out for a turn, which can completely turn around a match. Especially if you're taking re-raise off of them. But I think the main part of this is that re-raise. Dispel prior to damage, so regardless if they evade or whatever. Then her last skill before her EX skill is Domain of Fire. That's a pretty cool name. Centered on herself and across AoE, it's a 32 TP skill, 3 cast. It gives single target resistance, 15% for allies for 3 turns, and then also gives herself 25% agility. That's a pretty big agility amount. I think this is where you're going to say you wish she had a higher base, because she would get even more benefit from this. But maybe that's also why they didn't give it to her, is because she has an agility passive and an agility buff. So maybe they didn't want her to be like too crazy, super fast, or they just don't give a fuck and they just gave her a number. You're nodding. Job 25 skills, Armor Incinerating Bow Shot. So it's another bow shot, but this time it incinerates your armor instead of binds your flame. And it's range 5 AoE 1. It's a cross AoE range of 1, 2, 3, 4. 29 AP, three casts. She's a lot. Most of her stuff is like three casts here, or more, which is nice. If you find something you want to use for a particular matchup, you can use it multiple times before it runs out. It decreases the defense by 25 for all targets hit, which is like again across AoE. And then 165 damage. So it's that medium damage with a pre-damage defense break, which is always nice to see these before the damage is dealt. Because again, with her luck being pretty trash, uh, if she ever has trouble against evade units, you can at least kind of set them up for maybe another unit on your team that has like sharpshooter or something. If you're on a missile team that will hit and can benefit from that defense down. Um, that's all of her main stuff, but her main job has a subversion, which gives you enraging fire. This is another full range, range high 5, missile attack. All of this has been missile so far, by the way. 165 mod, with a chance to berserk, which is an interesting arrow to have. I was just mentioning berserk being like mainly a King Mont thing that you worry about, but I mean this is a reasonable thing to maybe use with her. She does have some decent TP skills in her main job, so I could see actually using her main sub, depending on the
Can
content.
I just want to butt in real fast and say
Sure.
that Glaciella, like Regalia, also has like a berserk attack. So it's interesting how there's like if you use all three of these units, Kingmont's, Cetia, and Glaciella Regalia, like
True, actually.
it's that triple threat of like berserk or whatever, which gets shut down really hard with like the berserk immunity or whatever TMR, I can't remember.
That is interesting, actually, and they're all 100 cost fire units. They make their opponents very angry, blind with rage. Then her last skill is Crimson Paralytic. Interesting name. 25% chance to inflict paralyze for 3 turns for targets. So it's just a TP skill cross AoE. It's similar to another skill, isn't it? Similar to
Sniper skill.
Paralyzing Trap.
Yeah.
So she wait. So Paralyzing Trap is 21.
Eerily
Right?
similar.
It costs 1 less TP. So based on how their AP rounding works, I don't know if it gives 1 less AP or not. I don't think it does. I think they give the same probably because it rounds down.
Literally the
But
same
I'm
skill.
like, yeah, this is she has 2 copies of this skill. And moving down her sub jobs, Viking, her 12th choice she gets is Drain Cyclone, which is the AoE kind of tiny damage, honestly, but absorbs HP. Probably never hitting people with that, to be fair. And then Sniper, she gets Barrier Break Arrow, which is nice to have. Again, it's a pre-damage Barrier Break, which is... She does have a lot of pre-damage stuff, which is nice, again, because of her accuracy issues. Then her LB is just a straight up, it's like a very long range Kotetsu sort of thing. I guess it's not a burst AoE, though, it's just a cross. But decreases fire resist by 38 for targets, before damage again, and then does 200 as a mod. At least the AP is only 49. I say only. It's a lot for a unit like this, but it's not like in the 60s like mages get. So, yeah. Flight of the Firebird. Pretty cool name. I
I've
think the animation's pretty dope too.
I've been pretty much dividing the total AP cost by her passive. Like you're just
Sure, sure.
dividing by 4 every time.
Um, well, divided by 4, then only subtracting that 1/4. It's not
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, so if I haven't made it clear yet, I'm not a huge fan because of the accuracy. She doesn't have any sure hit. Um, a lot of cool abilities, and I wouldn't mind like having access to her, but it's nothing I'm like super excited pulling for. I did my 3 on the banner just to see if I luck sec into it. Didn't get it, so I'm okay.
Oh man.
I'm gonna continue saving. I don't know, man. Like she's just missing something to make me pull her. Are you? I'm assuming you went for A, limited, B, fire, C, cool. But if you didn't, I mean, I'd be curious to hear your reasoning. Because if anybody, I think you would pull for her. Am
Yeah,
I correct?
me, Sasaki,
Satake too, yeah.
a
A
few
lot
others.
of my guildies that I don't understand. Like we had so many
Um,
arguments about her for the past like 3 weeks. Like she's
so,
been super contested in my guild server.
so I knew that by going hard for Rosa and like these other recent units, like I picked up more, who's just like like I just got her to like 120 like today basically, or at least the shards for it. I had, like just squeaked by
Sure.
after the last day of the her first week of getting shards. Obviously, so. I don't know if I'm gonna have the chance to pick her up, and that makes me sad because I would like to have her. So I actually I've been kind of scared to do polls today. The first three steps and blah blah blah.
There's no
Um,
steps.
what? There's no nine step?
Nope. You get the
What?
banner and 3 paid options. That is it.
Wow.
You can do the paid step where you get like the 2K free, 1.5
Yeah,
free one, which honestly, if you're spending, is not a horrible deal.
yeah, yeah.
It's not amazing, but you do get medals now for them. Like
It's a
if
nice
you're
little perk, right?
paying, they're not that bad. It's a pretty
Yeah,
big discount for that many pulls, and the rate is up on each step that has the actual paid currency. So it's just
but
not a unit I'm going to pay for.
yeah. So for me, I've been busy with like class stuff, like all day today. So I haven't got around to pulling her. I'm probably gonna do it like right afterwards, and then
Do the first pull right now when I'm doing the
right
closeouts,
now.
and let's
Well,
know what
I
happens.
haven't even looked at the banners yet. That's why I was like, wait, there's no nine step.
I
So
was really disappointed because normally I do
yeah,
all first 3 steps of 9 steps just because
yeah.
one, I'm a greedy bitch, and if I get a unit, I'm happy about it. But second, like the prism tickets are just so clutch. Like I feel like I always have more fragments than prisms, so I really don't mind having an excess of prism tickets, and it's
That
only
used to
4K
be
viz. So like,
that used to be me, and until
so I do the
fragments
selection
started.
quest.
Well, fragments started becoming more scarce than prisms because of the tickets not being as available. So like now it's like, well, I have an excess of prisms, but now I really need fragments, which means spending an extra 2K every nine steps. So because the step four is the fragment ticket. So I don't know. I've been kind of wondering about whether I'm going to start doing that. So my thoughts on Cetia though, going back to the unit.
Like real quick, do you want me to say what the banners are?
Yeah, yeah, sure. I mean, maybe it'll. I mean, if you do that, then maybe I'll have to do the first pull now or whatever.
Well, so they do have the rate up on for it's a one time only. You get the 80 select Warrior of Crystal Mind Spheres. So if you haven't finished Joom, you can pick it to get Joom from it, but otherwise you get Cetia. I wonder
Right.
if you bought this now, if it would update later to give you like Barris and the other
I would
crystals.
expect it to,
I would hope. I don't know though. I'm not gonna
but
risk it. It
80
would be
shards
nice.
for 2K paid is still a deal. Like
Yeah,
kind
and
of
then
a
the rest of
no-brainer
the
for
thing has a
spenders.
rate like it's a 0.4%. So they're rated up also, I believe.
I think I'm
Um
gonna do that one actually right now.
There you go. And then there's a 5 UR guaranteed, and it has a picture of them both on the front. So I believe you can get them.
Dude, you
Uh
you have to pick the Mind Sphere before you summon.
oh no. Okay, so yeah, it kind of sucks. Oh shit. Someone types the comment. That's not how it works, and then you say it now. It's just
No,
uh
I literally just went to summon, and it was like, pick your Mind Sphere.
oh damn, that's
So
annoying.
lame.
They have their normal pull rate on the 5 UR guarantee 10 times, but you do get an option for that also one time. And then there's the like I said, the cycle where you get the 2K 1.51. But outside of those three options, it's all a 5% pity normal banner. So,
Which hurts.
yeah, pull at your own risk there. Uh, I will say when Barris comes out, I will be probably jumping right into the banner because I will pity him if necessary.
Right.
Um, I think
That's
that's the thing I ask myself now is if I'm willing to pity a unit at the 5%, like I decide that up front, then I go to that banner because you gotta just build it. But if there's a 9 step and that, it's always tough. Like I'll go 3, then maybe go to the banner. But if it's 25, then I might gamble on the 9 step and then go into the 25 and try to hit those percents. But I think maybe they've learned that, and that's why we don't have either of those right now for this super. Also, a week. Like, come on, they really need to give like 2 weeks for these 100 cost
yeah, it's crazy.
like special units. Granted, they come back every time a new one releases, but it's still really obnoxious. Because there's no like rate up for the previous ones, at least not right now. Like Joom has like the higher rate on the select, but that's it. Did you pull her?
No, not yet.
Oh, you didn't do
Um,
it? No.
no.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. But so my thoughts on Setia. Honestly, I think she's getting a lot of hate and disparagement from the uh player base. So like even before she was released, people were like looking at her kit and being like, dude, what the fuck, like her accuracy sucks, she has no guaranteed hit and stuff. And I don't really necessarily agree that she is that bad. Honestly, I think she's really useful, especially if you're like a fan of the fire element. Like fire is a big part of your roster. Um, there are some things wrong with her kit though, and that's what I will agree with. There's certain things wrong with her kit. For instance, her sniper sub job, she doesn't get dispel spread or slow arrow, which
Right.
are two like you really want like the trifecta really of like barrier break arrow, dispel spread, and slow arrow.
But you
Like those
never
are
will on a
really
sub
the
job.
key ones. Yeah, yeah,
So
exactly.
she gets the yeah.
Exactly. So like it's always going to be a toss up like which ones are you going to get? Barrier break is nice. I don't think she doesn't get a barrier break on her main job skills, right? It
I
was
don't think
she
so.
gets
And there's no multi hit either.
yeah, she gets a defense break and she gets the re-raise dispel, which in itself like is so useful, right? Like there's so it's such a rare thing to see that kind of skill nowadays. Maybe like in a year from now, maybe we're gonna see a bunch of units that have it. Um, just like the reduced counter like skill, like it used to be like, oh, like no more reflexes.
The
Let's
first
use this
time.
unit.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But now we're seeing like a bunch of units have it. So um and in terms of her sniper sub job, that kind of sucks. It would have been nice to have one of those other two skills, but slow shot. I mean, an agi break always useful. Arm shot. Whenever you have the chance to disable one of the opponent's units, that's amazing, right? When it works. Paralyzing trap. Blah. Target. The fact that she
You
gets
mean Crimson Paralytic?
the fact that she gets a range up and defense pen makes me think that sniper is going to be like the main sub job that you have her on,
For sure.
um, because like she doesn't have like a missile res pen, right? It's just
She has missile res pen in her passive, and then she gets defense pen from this. So
right,
she
yeah,
gets to
yeah.
attack it on both fronts.
So like more and more as I look at her, like she's the fire version of Frederica in my mind, with a little less agility. She's not quite as fast as like the top. She's not topping the charts of agility, and she doesn't have like a guaranteed hit. She doesn't have sharpshoot, or like some of the other range like Summer Lilith has like the guaranteed hit barrage or whatever. Like she doesn't have anything like that, so she's going to really have to rely on like increasing her base stats or accuracy buffs, like once you're on the board, stuff like that. Maybe even having to like you never see an aim ring on Frederica, right? You see it on Nivlu because Nivlu also struggles, right? So it's kind of like she's a mix between Frederica and Nivlu, like the fire version of like a mix of those two in my mind. I don't think she deserves as much disrespect as she's getting from people. Like they're putting her like some people are like putting her on a tier list and it's like C or maybe B or something like that. I think she's definitely A or even S in terms of like her versatility and her damage and like the usefulness of her as a unit. Like she's definitely worth pulling if you have the resources to spare on her, even as a 100 cost unit.
I think the reason
And
is a lot of the community also
it's
cares
just
about guild battles and stuff, and they're like, "Oh, the water meta's coming. Like, we can't pull a fire
yeah.
unit like this."
Well, so the thing is like besides the recent like ice unit like Rachel, um actually that was a water unit.
That was a
What
water
was
unit.
Rafale or Rafal,
Yeah.
and maybe Lastwell. Like, there's not that many ice evade units that you're going to have to worry about in terms of not having a guaranteed hit. So, like, I don't
Like,
really
what about
get.
like Elena though? Like, how's she gonna kill Elena?
Well, yeah, but just don't use her against Elena. Like, I don't get the hate. Like, she's going to be strong at what she's good at, like against like the units that you're going to expect her to be good at against.
I,
um
I just think if you ever
so
come up against her, Elena, 2B,
yeah, yeah, so
Zazan, like any of those main
the
evade
big
comps in PvP, like you're fucked. Like,
exactly, yeah, yeah. So you're going to have to figure out ways to deal with that, and maybe those aren't going to be enough, like something like we've seen. Although I think accuracy is kind of like when you stack accuracy nowadays, I think it's more heavily scale or the scales between accuracy and evasion. I think there's more weight on the accuracy side than the evade side. But I don't know, I could be mistaken.
I
Um,
think you're correct, like mathematically. It's just in
yeah,
practice, it's not observed.
yeah, yeah. Well,
Like the math
like
is there, but like it
yeah,
feels so much worse.
right.
But we also have never the more negative.
Especially when you don't have the chance to take into account like affinity bonuses, like the luck
Also,
index there. So, but if she had like even one guaranteed hit, like it would kind of push her towards being like a little more top of the meta. Like
If she has a
Frederica,
sharpshoot equivalent on her main
yeah,
sub,
yeah,
like
like
there it is. Like
she's
you have an option.
like Frederica has been used since day one, and she's still getting used, and it's so annoying. Like Cetia would be like that. Like that's how useful she is, and how much more useful she is than Frederica. Like I'm just glad she doesn't have a time mage sub job. Otherwise, we'd like see her all the time. Because like between her and Minwoo, like double quicken, any fire carry or
Flying
any
Mont. Yeah.
carry. Yeah. Although I guess we're gonna see more like Berserk res in the near future or something. Um, can't remember where. Like I was reading something recently where it was like, oh, King Lion is gonna get shut down more often with in terms of Berserk resistance. But
And there's
yeah,
always the
I mean,
argument like you have to be against the team that your weakness is, and I understand
right.
you're not always going to have those problems. It's just
Yeah.
I like versatility and the ability to
Yeah.
put a team out and feel decent against the field, and she just
Yeah,
yeah, it's
and
hard.
fill like multiple roles. Like I have to take care of like these units and these other units, and like what about this comp? Um, yeah, like I can definitely see the hesitation, and I think it's warranted. But at the same time, like she's definitely like a strong 100 cost fire unit, and that's what I appreciate about her.
So I appreciate about you. Oh, you don't get that reference. That's okay. You're watching Letterkenny?
No,
Oh, okay. You should. It's hilarious, but
but
anyway,
just like her decreased AP consumption, just on a passive, like imagine getting like a bow that has decreased AP consumption, like Mythgraven Blade has.
sure.
Um, just to make it even crazier, like Elena, like using like her evade buff plus like 3-star ring, using that for just decreased AP consumption is just crazy. The fact that like her LB would cost like 37 or something with her
Yeah.
passive. Like her thermal exposure barrage skill, just being like super cheap. It's like 28 AP for a barrage. Like it's like I really think she's being sold short for how effective and powerful she can be. So, yeah, hopefully we can see that. Yes, we've heard like stuff about like the new water meta, which is weird because lightning is always going to be
Right,
a
right.
thing to
I think
deal
it's more of
with.
a guild
So,
battle thing, to be fair. But
yeah, and it's like I mean, guild battle is something that maybe a lot of people take seriously, but I've never really taken it that seriously. Like it's never been as big of a thing as like live PvP for me. So it's just like, whatever.
right.
But yeah, I think she's being done a little dirty right now. So I'm looking forward to people having faith in her and using her and seeing how well she does, even if I get punished for it.
Speaking of weapons that give AP reduced, that's not what her bow does, but she did get bow. She has bow of divine flame. Dilla. It has a name, I guess. I'm assuming it's
So
Dilla.
weird.
It'd be Dia if you're
Yes, can't be
in some
sure.
languages, but yes, I'm assuming it's Dilla. But yeah, it's actually a pretty badass looking bow. Pretty
Yeah,
cool.
it is. It's like a
Um,
phoenix bow.
I kind of want to see it on like Nivlu, like fashion wise, like as the
Oh
picker.
yeah,
It look kind of cool. I think she has that like sub pinkish red theme. But
the
anyway,
strong bow.
stat wise, or actually, yeah. So stat wise, it has an assault version with 159 attack, which is medium. However, it does have an aim version that I might actually advocate for once, with 18 accuracy. Considering we are just I was just talking about how I really hate her accuracy. This could help, but it has an interesting set of passives. So it has the 15 missile attack as we expect, but also at +5, it gets increased HP by 15% for 3 turns at the start of wherever the mission is. Very strange to have on a missile unit who I feel like is typically going to want to stay out of the fight, giving them a 3 turn HP percent. It's a very strange thing to have on a bow.
It belongs more on Summer Lilith, honestly, who's sub paladin,
I
has
could
more
see that,
HP,
yeah.
stuff like that.
So yeah, I
It's
guess
so
maybe
weird.
it could be like for Summer Lilith. It's weird that it's like fire, but it doesn't actually have fire attack on it. It's not like Flame Tongue where it has a fire attack bonus. So this is actually any range unit can use, any bow user can use this. Um, I think most people are going to build assault, but honestly, like I said, the difference between assault and aim is 48 damage or 48 attack, sorry. Uh, but you're trading off and getting an extra 14 accuracy. I honestly think that actually might be worth it. Which version would you kind of lean towards as your first, and would you build both?
So
And we're gonna ignore critical because it's 12% crit and fuck off.
right. So honestly, I would say I like your assessment about like building aim versus building assault. It's really the only kind of like aim bow that we have access to, like that type. Like we don't like the other bows don't really have an accuracy component to them. However, I will mention um, Corwell's TMR hunting bow has an amazing like 25 accuracy or something like that, and we're coming up on like 1 month away or something from the whole TMR rune system and like sub VCs and stuff like that. And honestly, like for Cetia especially, like you can get away with using like a weapon TMR for her. Like you don't necessarily really need to use bells on her. Um, like you might be able to use like the aim hunting bow instead of Dilla, which is um, I mean it's a weapon. It's not a weapon TMR, so you can't use runes on it or whatever. And it's you can use the skin. Just use the skin, and like, yay, she's a fire sniper. But it's just a weird, like the HP buff is weird, and like the assault, like the attack, it's a nice value, but more and more, I'm looking at Corwell's DMR, like, I wonder if I can make this work for her, especially if there's like a rune for like um, AP acquired up, or God forbid, decreased AP consumption even more. So I don't know. I don't really know much about the rune system, but I just want to like that's on my radar.
I will say, we were talking about other bows not really having accuracy options. There are two that outshine this by quite a bit. The
Really?
Elven Bow, she's not going to want to use because the magic attack,
That's why I didn't mention
but
that.
it's 25. However, the Rune Bow gives you still get the 15 missile attack. You get a lot lower attack. Well, actually, it's what 111 on the aim version for this one. So you would drop to 86, but you get 28 accuracy flat,
Yeah.
which is
It's,
pretty
I mean, it's an
gigantic,
option
actually.
for
It's
not
like
missing.
right. So depending on where the issue is, that could push it over. But I will say that I'm probably looking at something like this more often.
Yeah.
I just
Like
didn't
you,
want like someone in the comments to be like, "Oh, the Roomba has this
right.
28 accuracy." It's like, don't say the other bows don't have
Yeah.
it. Like they exist, but meh.
My response to that is like, why not just use an aim ring, right?
True. If you're that
But
concerned, which I
for
probably
yeah,
will.
at the expense of like more defense with like using like armor or whatever. But yeah, I don't know if I would use a rune bow. But yeah, it's crazy accuracy.
Um, yeah, I mean, those are all my thoughts on the combination of basically everything from today. Do you have any kind of closing thoughts about these topics?
Yes.
We have one last thing to talk about before we end,
Yeah,
but
yeah, that's true.
honestly, it's getting a lot later than I thought it was going to be. So,
Yeah, my fiance was giving me the eyes. Um, my last thoughts in terms of like the whole like Cetia issue and stuff like that. Like you can't ignore, like you have to address like the vision card issue that Fire has. Um, it like Fire vision cards, there's no party effect that gives dex 35% as far as I've seen. There's like the Phoenix, which gives like the hybrid dex of like 18%, as well as like the magic resist and pierce attack that you would probably see used on Winter Mashri. There's like a new vision card. It's like a dinosaur looking vision card. I don't know what it's called. But that is interesting. I think it's for like missile attack for fire units, if I'm not mistaken. Like the 35 missile
I
attack.
have no idea.
Yeah, so it's like missile attack and like agility or something, and like acquired AP up on bestow. So I mean that's really cool. That's useful for her. But like there's no luck VC to increase like by 35%. There's no 35% dex. Um, I don't know. I don't remember when, but I've heard that we're gonna get the Crystal Chronicles Fire Vision card, like the 35 fire attack up for the party at some point in the near future. But like we're still waiting on that. So like um, to me, like Fire Vision cards, Yeah, there's the old school Ifrit, like 50% attack up. There's Blades of Grass, which is that limited vision card. That's just like it's like the original like party accuracy up.
Yep.
And I think
Okay,
it
I'm glad you said that. I was gonna bring it
I
up.
think I think it gives like crit for fire units as well.
Right.
Yeah. So I mean, like fire vision cards have always felt a little clunky. Like they haven't been filled out as well as say like light vision cards, earth vision cards, dark vision cards, like these popular elements. So like it's it's definitely an issue that hopefully will be addressed eventually. But for now, like the vision card aspect of the fire element is going to um, affect how well Cetia performs, and I think that's part of why people are like about her. So, but um,
Encounter
to
of Heroes does give some accuracy too,
yeah,
so it
it
gives
does. Yeah, it's the
13.
hybrid.
Yeah,
Yeah. But you have to use obviously like rain or Minwu or something for the magic aspect of that.
to really make use of
Um,
it. Yeah.
yeah. So for anyone who's kind of on the fence, I know people watch this and are like, decide after like hearing what we've thought about whether they want to pull or something. Like, make sure to take that into account as well. And maybe like if your fire roster in terms of both units and vision cards aren't really that strong, I can definitely see that being part of why you wouldn't want to pull her, or if they are, why you would want to, especially what you're saving for the near future in terms of a fire element.
On the other hand, I could actually see her being on a mixed team with holding Blades of Grass. So she's going to get the crit rate from that. The whole
Yeah.
party gets the benefit from the accuracy, and she gets a bunch of attack percent also.
Yeah.
So like maybe that's something. If you played back then to get that though, like yeah, that requires you to have pulled that during one of the two tactics runs. But
That's an interesting point. Like, I don't see her really as one of those units that you would use on a rainbow team. Like, it seems like she's more
Fire and
useful on a mono
Peril, and
element.
yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
I'm gonna say you could like so if you wanted to mix it. She might be on
Yeah,
a mixed
yeah,
missile team though, right? I feel like missile units are one that is a type of team that does often bridge the gap between elements. So you
yeah.
see like a Frederica, you could see her, and then something like either the new Lucia, who's pretty
Rosa.
solid, or Rosa for some healing on the team. So like I could actually maybe see an argument for that, but I agree that her kit does sort of lean towards the mono direction, especially like with the the berserk theme and the fire and perils. But yeah, the vision cards, meh.
With if she's using Phoenix, like her magic res is gonna hit 70% without even
That's
using
pretty
armor.
nuts. Yeah,
Like
that's
with
pretty
with
insane.
her buff, obviously. So yeah, what the hell, dude? She can almost hit that null. Like
And
with
60 flat decks.
yeah, like if she's wearing like a magic res like 10 piece of gear, it's like 80 or something. I don't know.
At
It's
that
insane.
point, it's like bring a spellblade or something.
Right, exactly.
And hit that
So
100. She'd be
I
like
like
whisper.
that. I like that aspect to her.
But yeah, real quick, I think we may have to kind of dive in more, and maybe it'd be more valuable for us to give thoughts after we've done it for a couple days to
Yeah,
like really absorb the content. But my initial thoughts on the pickup, what's it called for the? I was thinking of the JP version. It's like pickup match or
yeah. It's quick pick for global,
quick pick.
but same thing.
Basically, it's what we used to do with live PvP tournaments where you would have a pre-selected selection of
Roster. Yeah,
unit roster. Thank you. Of units. In this case, it's 6. And then when you match with your opponent, you can see their 6 and you see your 6, and then you pick 3 and then you send them in a battle. Now the difference here is it's auto only.
you gotta do it quickly.
You have to do it, and yeah, it's like 20 seconds or something to select
Something
your
like
team.
that. Yeah.
And the other part, I'm not a huge fan, but I understand for the 20 seconds it's necessary. Is you have to like preset all the vision cards and espers and things. So you have to like you can't say you can't use Fenrir on like 2 different units or use Blades of Grass for something on like the Black Rose Helena VC. I could see being a big deal. You can't have that in 2 separate units and say like no matter what I send in, I'm gonna have the VC. Like you have to pre-plan all of that and have multiple. You can either have 2. I think most commonly people have 2 sets of 3 that you're gonna use together. But if you want to get more tricky, you have to like make sure the VCs are usable across the other combinations in the event that the opponent's teams are kind of like direct counters. Then there's fun stuff. I know like Vinny was talking about putting his level 3 King Mont in there just to like because they don't show levels, so you're just like, oh god, King Mont, I gotta use this stuff, and then he just has like the trap for the other side
Yeah.
of it.
I
Um,
don't know if that's really the
I
strategy
know
you
he's
want to
gonna
go with.
he's gonna do the classic Vinny thing where he has 5 quickeners and 1 target, and then you have to
Yeah,
decide which quickener. But
especially as a free to play player, I can see that's more relevant,
for sure. Now, the concept is so cool, but like, why can't we have this in a manual mode? Like,
right?
it's the same amount of time. You match
We're
up,
almost there.
you
It's just
pick
there.
your 3, and then you just don't have auto on. It's so simple. You could do this for manual content. We don't have it. Like, I don't understand what the fucking hatred or whatever like bias for auto content. Like, I get the
It's not
masses.
even.
I get making money, but fuck off. Like, give
It's
us
not even.
a switch. Like,
It's not even an
it's not.
active like malice. It's just like a passive negligence. Like you don't even think about it.
It's just so stupid. Like, there's so much opportunity. Like, this mode we've talked about for so long. If it was a manual thing, it'd be so cool. It's almost like drafting, but again, you're not like, you don't get to see their picks. All you see is their targets. But that's enough to like spice up class matches. Imagine how much we'd have to talk about strategy wise if we could pick 6 class match units and then you pick based on your opponent. Like, there's so much in there. You could put Keenblade stuff in there to trick people. You could do all like 6 mono ones. You have no idea what's coming in, or like you see like 1 water unit and then 5 ice. Like, ooh, bring in your fire team. Like, there's so much counterplay to it, but the AI just, you don't get to really see the potential of a system like this when you're on auto. And it's so
Yeah.
painful to watch this. And it also, I believe in JP, this eats up a class match. I hope it doesn't for us,
Hopefully it won't,
but
especially if this
they
being
were
like the
alternating.
second
It was
week.
class match this thing,
Yeah.
class match this thing, and that's half of the ranked manual stuff for us. If that's the case, and if it does do that, that's going to be a serious problem for us.
Yeah.
And it's really sad to watch. But
So we have two
overall, the mode's
more.
cool. Like, the concept is
Yeah.
cool.
We have
Why
2 more
can't?
weeks.
Yeah,
So to cross our fingers for a
yeah.
February class match. So yeah, with all of that in mind and considered, we I still feel like we should not embrace, but like appreciate the fact that they're trying to do something in terms of PvP,
Trying
even
to do
if it's
something new.
auto.
Yeah,
Yeah, so like I don't want to focus on like what could be and like why isn't it more like that, but I still feel like especially those of us that kind of carry the torch forward in terms of PvP, um, even auto PvP, like we should be thankful that like we're getting any kind of content. So like yes, I agree with you, but like I think this is a good step forward towards getting that manual type content. Um, like you said, all you got to do is flip a switch, and maybe the programming or maybe the development team or whatever is going to have a harder time doing that. But like I think this is a step in the right direction, and hopefully that's the case.
I have a lot of arguments against a lot of what you just said, but
Yeah,
maybe we'll save it
do
for
you
next
really?
time. I don't think it's difficult. No,
Well,
there's
I like
no
I said, I
difficult
don't know.
programming.
So
They
yeah,
the perfect argument I saw is they had a manual only mode called like live PvP.
class match.
I
I'm just fucking.
no, I know. I'm trying to think. I was covering my ass, but
Yeah,
I guess if I
yeah,
really want to think about it, I think we didn't have auto and class match till like the third one, so fair.
something.
We
Yeah,
had a mode, it doesn't matter. We had a part in the game that was all manual, and then they added an auto button.
yeah,
Now they have an auto mode, an auto button that you can just
yeah,
turn off. It's not
yeah.
fucking hard. So there
Yeah,
is no argument of the devs can't fuck off. No, there's
right.
no the devs can do it. They just either don't want to or they like didn't think about it.
It's
In
not
either
worth it.
case, I don't care. They're both bad. Like,
Right, and like they have no problem with having a single ranking structure without separating them. So like again,
yeah.
like imagine having a manual like toggle and like oh yeah,
And
it
like,
would be nice. It would be nice.
if they told us like this, if they were super transparent and they had a plan, which again, this is always, we always shit on like, we're playing their game, we enjoy the game, but like, we shit on the company all the time, sorry. But like,
Yeah, we
if they
invest so
actually had a
much.
plan and it was like, hey, this game mode forces you to match in real time during a class match window, but it's more accessible for people because it's on auto. And
Yeah,
in the future, we're going to add a manual option, and then maybe more players will be interested. That's different, like showing us a game plan and
yeah,
at
yeah,
least giving us hope. But like,
uh,
right now, it's just going to
yeah,
replace part of the manual content, which is,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's
we
rough.
should. I think the live PvP community should feel threatened by this being pushed into the global side of things. Fingers crossed that we get something out of it on the manual side.
Give it to us in friendly duel and allow us to play on manual, and we'll have infinite content. And I'll stop bitching.
Yeah, yeah.
There we
Holy
go.
shit! Right there.
Boom. Anyway,
But yeah. Anyway,
we will maybe expand on this next time. Well, we're gonna have to expand on it next time. I don't expect a lot of releases next week. I don't think, unless it's like a Valentine's unit or something. So we'll have a lot of time to talk about this. I'll probably end up playing some matches. I was almost gonna boycott it and not play, but I'm like, who am I hurting? Like, all I'm doing is not getting rewards. So like no, they're not gonna.
sound
Oh,
like
Prodigy's not playing it. We better do something. Like, fuck. I'm not Diggs. Like, who has like an actual voice. But
you have
anyway,
a voice.
I think my voice has annoyed Justin many times. But I've definitely chatted with him before, and yeah. Anyway, it's a lot of I can't help.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but which I understand. It's not Justin. I'm not.
Yeah.
Justin's fine. But anyway,
Thanks for
that's all
listening.
thoughts for this week. Thank you. Hope you enjoyed. I've been Zach Burrell,
I've been Dan Boone.
and we'll see you next time.